Hello and welcome to a night writing vlog. Tonight I'm being particularly conscious of kind of a set routine for night writing. I'll have a little bit more structure in this vlog because I'm trying to find the best way to get into an evening writing routine because I'm going back to work soon and I'm starting to feel towards the end of my winter vacation I need to get back on track, and I don't want to walk into a messy structure where I feel strung out when I get back to work. I want to feel like I had a well-deserved break, I relaxed, and then I moved into working and still have a bit of flow creatively, and that I'm not just like going to workhorse through. My partner made me some green curry and green beans. I'm currently drinking some water, but I'll probably make myself some sort of warm drink, tea or decaf or hot cocoa, something of that sort. And then while I eat, I'm going to be listening to my rough draft. And when I say listen, I don't have an audiobook of it. I'm just listening to a recording I made of the assisted reading that's on my computer. They have quite a few different voices for assisted reading, which I use anyway because I have pretty severe dyslexia. This one's pretty okay. It's definitely a robot, but he reads my draft out to me and it allows me to listen to my draft without making any edits, which I have found really useful. And I've noticed when I'm reading it physically out to myself, I make edits as I go just because I catch them, which can be really useful. It's less work later, but it doesn't help me as far as getting into the headspace that I'm naturally in the morning. I am a morning writer. I'm an early bird when it comes to getting my creative process going and all of that. I actually have a writing routine video that I can link up above and down below if you're interested in my ideal. I need to kind of find a ideal evening routine for me, something that still works so it doesn't feel like I'm just trying to get words on the page even though I'm super tired from work. Sometimes if I don't have classes, I can get some writing in during the day at work, but that's rare and it's far and few between, and I would like to have a routine down for writing even when I'm not given that at work. So while I eat my dinner, I'm going to have my voice memos on. I just did a screen recording of highlighting the different chapters, and then I click speech and read out loud, and I picked a voice. I think his name is Daniel Premium, and then Daniel, or whoever he is going to read it out to me while I eat. It's really nice. I'll just give you a little bit of an example of what the voice sounds like in case you're interested or you didn't know that this existed, because I know it existed because I sometimes have to have things read to me because my eyes are tired, I'm tired, I have dyslexia and I just don't want to try anymore. All of that good stuff. So here's a quick sample of what it sounds like.
The Solstice Heir by Jade, Juniper, Draft 1. Wind surrounded Ikeka and whipped against his face like shards of shattering glass. He took in the mountain pass before him, a sharp serpentine incline with untouched snow and...
So it's like that. If I have a thought, I can jot it down, but for the most part, I'm just eating and multitasking to kind of get myself in the headspace. Hopefully that works. Yeah, we're gonna have a little experimental night writing vlog where I try and find things I like and smush them all into one, and then maybe I'll come out with a vlog where it's a nightly writing routine video because I'll have found something that's working for me. Okay, I'm back. I'm well fed. The kettle is on because I'm gonna make myself some hot cocoa. Our family sent us some abuelita hot cocoa, and so I'm very excited. Definitely feels like a treat. I'm gonna be real, I'm not in a writing headspace, and I did foresee this coming because this is just not normally the time I write. This is normally my time where I do admin or I am super lazy and I relax and watch a show after work. I am a morning writer, and so of course I'm sitting here ready to go and I'm feeling absolutely nothing. But that's okay because I have been trying to figure out how to surpass that. In fact, the other day I just sat here. I didn't write anything. I didn't vlog. I just sat here expecting to write something, staring at my blank document, or blank chapter. The document is not blank. There's plenty there, I promise. The book 2 is coming. I just stared at my blank chapter and kind of dithered? I don't know another word for it. I was meandering through 3 hours. But I did something yesterday that worked, and I'm going to try it again tonight to see if it was flash in the pan or if it's something for real. I wrote a scene with the intention of it not being in the book, but it being relevant. So they always talk about the iceberg with writing a book where the reader sees this much, the author has this this much information. A lot of that information just kind of stays in the author's head though. Not very much of it goes down on paper, at least in my case. Instead, yesterday, I wrote down a part of my iceberg that I didn't intend for people to see. So I opened a different document and I started writing any part of a character or a motivation or something that would add details later to this book. The example being, yesterday, the scene I ended up writing was a scene between one of my characters and his relationship with one of his very old friends. The friend is a little bit in the book, but I really wanted it to be understood that these characters are close despite them not being on page together until a particular scene. So in order to make that come across that way, I did need to have them already have that connection so that when I'm writing from this character's perspective, it like colors how he's thinking about this person. Not just because I know that they're friends, but because I have certain details or instances, little bits that make this character a person, not just a character that's off page, but a person that's important to another person. That was a scene I wrote yesterday, and it made me really excited to write a scene where this character is mentioned, but not on page. And I have an entire to-do list of scenes with check marks next to them, so they have numbers, check marks, and like 2 or 3 sentences describing what needs to happen within the chapter or scene, the plot points. And I had one of those, so I skipped ahead, wrote that scene, and I was off. I was writing a book. Scenes that would be going into my book were then writing. So it didn't feel like that was a waste because it not only got me writing, it, I think, colored and textured the scene that ended up in the book, and it just also helps the creative juices flowing. I am already in that creative headspace. Maybe a new idea comes to me because I'm writing from this character who I normally wouldn't have met in this context, and that character has their own ideas and ways of looking at things, and I kind of got to spend an hour with little to no inhibition. I just got to have untethered freedom, which is, I think, the upside of writing at night. There's something romantic about writing at night that I just haven't tapped into because I'm a little bit more just wanting to get the story across, and I'm not in that zero draft phase, so I just want it to be polished as possible. But if I want it to be clean and polished, I have to write it, and I need to get this draft done. I can't not have a draft. My editor already has the first half. I need to have the second half for her pretty much by the end of January. I'm working on it. So that's what I'm going to do now. Actually, that's a lie. Right now, I'm gonna go pour the kettle so that I can have hot cocoa. But after I've poured my hot cocoa and got Abuelita hot chocolate stirring in my cup, then I'm going to write a scene without the intention of it ever being in my book. It's going to be contextual knowledge that helps enrich the story that I'm going to write later. Let's get cocoa. I realize I haven't done a writing vlog in a while. There might be new people here. In the off chance that you're new, yes, I write with one hand. No, it's never going to change. This hand, practically useless. The only trick or flair I've found that comes along with it is that I can drink and write at the same time, which is just, you know, like I flex it every once in a while. I'll be writing a scene and I'll keep drinking, but yeah, that's, I only write with one hand. No, it's not incredibly aesthetically pleasing, but I did write an entire book with one hand, so that's something, right? That was great. I can kind of tell you what this is because it's not going to be in the book. That's kind of fun. I normally can't talk about it because I'm writing the sequel to my novel. I wrote a dream sequence, which I do not have in my book, but I do have reference to this dream in a letter. One of my characters is writing a letter to another character and she says she has a dream. I was like, I'd like to explore that more. I don't know, I was feeling dream sequency, and I feel like dreams are abused in writing quite often. I'm not going to gatekeep whether you write a dream sequence or not. I think that they can be done really well. I just think sometimes too much emphasis emphasis is put on the literal symbolism of them and not the nonsensical and absurd ways our brain decides to interpret things. You'll see a dream sequence and you'll know someone looked up in a dream book the literal symbolism of a certain thing, like a ticking clock, a deadline, something like that. That can sometimes happen, but I don't know about you. Maybe your dreams are different. Let me know down below if you have completely straightforward dreams, but my dreams are whack. They're weird. And I've never had a dream that's inspired me to write a novel, but I have had some funky ones that have made me very aware writing dreams should have a nonsensical aspect to them. If you're writing a dream, it should have things in it that are symbols of what you're trying to get across and symbols that have nothing to do with anything else. They can just be things. Maybe write your first sequence as being the thing you want to get across, because every scene, whether it's a dream or not, should have something it's trying to get across. There should be a point. But then after that, pull things out that seem like they are stabilizing the scene and put something in that doesn't belong. If your character in the dream is reading a newspaper, have the newspaper stand person be a frog. That's a weird example, but I mean, so are dreams. This dream, I wanted my character to feel as if she was drowning, but I didn't want to put her in the ocean, so I put her in her room, and her room was filling up, but she couldn't actually see the water, so she's drowning in air. That would make you think that she's floating and suffocating, but no, she's drowning. She is so sure of that, and she can feel the water, she just can't see it. She also makes us aware of the fact that there's a tree in the middle of her room instead of outside of it where it belongs, like it's growing out of her floor instead of in her courtyard, but that has nothing to do with the actual scene. It's just there. It's part of the scene. And I just kind of played around with it, and yeah, so I drowned my character for the first hour. Let's see what I do with the next. We are hopping into the actual book, so I won't be able to tell you the next scene I write, but I don't know. I think dreams are incredibly interesting and sometimes oddly underutilized while also being overutilized. I don't know. Maybe you disagree. You can let me know. Always up for a conversation, especially about dreams. Like, I'm your friend who wants to know what your dream was last night. You know, when you like have a dream and you're like, listen, I know that this sounds not important and not interesting, but it is like a core memory for me right now, and I gotta tell someone my dream. I'm the one that likes to hear about them. Please tell me your dreams. I also know which scene I'm going to write, and I can't tell you about the scene, but oh my gosh, I am in the headspace. I can already tell by the way I'm talking. This is my writing headspace. I probably sound a little unhinged, but that's because I'm in the writing headspace. I am also reading The Art of War. This is the pamphlet edition. I've actually read The Art of War before because I was that kind of teenager. This is incredibly useful because it is literally just the footnotes going over all of the different tactics, and I need to write a strategist scene. This is a cozy political fantasy, and part of the politics is that there is a war going on in two different kingdoms, and two of my characters are very involved in the tactics and the strategy that goes into this war. It's a little boring, but kind of like placements of like foot soldiers, like encampments, getting from point A to point B, how a general would be planning for that, how they move soldiers from point A to point B, and even point C. I'll be referencing this, but I'll be mostly writing. So if you see me pick up a book in between, it's The Art of War. Okay, I'm feeling good about this. I'm gonna get going. I'm gonna read a couple of these to you on the topic of energy. The impact of your army may be like a grindstone dashed against an egg. This is affected by the science of weak points and strong. In all fighting, the direct method may be used for joining battle, but indirect method will be needed in order to secure victory. This is why I'm having so much trouble with this, is because there are moments where the only way for me to strategically have someone win this battle is because I have to be a little convoluted in order to actually win. Like, I have it structured. I have pages upon pages of where the battle is set up. I need to know because these two people definitely know, but they also have conflicting ways of how they're going to be going about it. And a lot of that is not in the book. Like, this is not a heavy military book, but I need it to make sense or it's not going to make sense in the book. You'll know something is off. It needs to actually work out. And I completely understand Sun Tzu, which is such an alarming and red flag thing to say, why, but I understand what he's saying about joining the battle needs to be direct, but an indirect method will be needed in order to secure victory. Things are heating up. There has been a change in strategy and a change in motivation. It's very useful to look at these because they're so straightforward. Here's another one. Military tactics are like unto water, for water in its natural course runs away from high places and hastens downwards. That's also useful to me. He's telling me to take the high ground, and I get that. They're just like, this is how you're gonna win. This is how you're gonna win a war. And I'm like, that's exactly what I need. Anyway, I'm almost done with this scene, so I just thought I would take a brief intermission to tell you a little bit about my light reading. Okay, I finished the scene, the chapter, and an overall plot point, which is highly motivating because we are reaching the end. And it's probably good that I'm getting into a less lucid space to write some of the end, not because I don't need to stick the landing, I definitely do. This is where the themes of the story really need to come through, like the theme is stated, and that can sound a little robotic when you are coming from like a plot space. When you're thinking about plot structure, the fact that the theme needs to be stated, it can take you into a different headspace and it changes the tone a little. I think that night writing is possibly also good for that, is for keeping you less lucid, because then I'm just kind of writing from the heart. I don't know, crispness. My brain isn't crisp, obviously, because I just said that statement out loud. Like, I don't have coffee in me, I have cocoa. I am blissful vibes only. Don't know if that made sense, but that's not really what this vlog is about. It's not about making sense. It's about writing words, which I just did. I'm gonna go ahead and read over them. I will finish my cocoa and I'll check in with you at the end, and that'll be that. That'll be this vlog. Okay, I just finished. Quick tip, I went ahead and I actually listened to it while going over and reading it, just in case I heard something instead of just like scanning over it. It also helps, again, if you have dyslexia. This is a great tool to use because sometimes I literally won't recognize a word as wrong because all of the letters are there, they're just not in the right place, and that doesn't always matter to my brain. So I went ahead and listened to it while doing it, and then I finished my cocoa while I just let it play through with it doing a screen recording. All of that went really nicely. It's on my phone now. This is the end of this vlog. I just wanted it to be a nice little night write. I appreciated you guys sticking around with me. Please let me know about either your writing progress, your dreams, either aspirations or literal dreams. If you are a night writer or if you're a morning writer, or are you one of those unicorns that can write unfettered at any point in time without stipulation. I admire you if so. Oh, one last thing. I can start calling this book by its title. I had my newsletter go out that announced the title because newsletter subscribers get it first. And then I posted a reel and a short showing off the title and like kind of like a little preview. I kind of put a lot of work and effort into it. So if you want to watch it, I'll go ahead and link it somewhere. Here, there, sure. 8 years on YouTube. Couldn't tell you which side it'll be on, but it'll be there, and maybe down below. It's just a short that like reveals the title, but you don't have to. You can just listen for another 3 seconds. So the first book was called The Solstice Court. This is The Solstice Heir. So yeah, you just watched me write a little bit of The Solstice Heir, which was really fun. If you don't want to tell me any of your dreams or aspirations, or just couldn't be bothered, you can go ahead and put a candle emoji down below if you're so inclined, but whether you do or not, I hope you're enjoying the sun or more stars wherever you are, and until next time, bye!